Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode 346, I think, of the Church Solutions podcast. My name is Phil Thompson.
And I'm Michael Gray.
Michael Gray's with us
Forgot my
again.
name for a minute.
You gotta.
I'm like, who am I? I don't know who I am.
Yeah. Well,
today.
Yeah, it changes, So, but glad to have Michael with us again. We're going to do part two. Steve Lacy is not here today. He'll be back with us again soon. He's taking a little hiatus from the podcast thing. So Michael and I are going to really continue here with part two of how to launch or relaunch your church online, especially tailored for back to school. And if you're new to the podcast, we've been doing these podcasts for many years. We're a company that actually is a tech company. Although we all have experience, everybody on the team here has experience working with churches and ministries for many, many years. We won't say how long because it would make us look really old, and that's not cool these days. We got to be like the cool kids, but we've been around for a while. So we talk a lot about different topics, not just tech related. And this is kind of a mixture of tech, but this is maybe not so much tech related. So, or maybe it is, I don't know. So last time we talked about why back to school was a really good time to do this. And we typically think about relaunching either streaming video or anything, usually, maybe in the Easter season or maybe for the new year. But Michael brought up some really good points about you really need to consider relaunching right before school, because that's when families kind of get their act together, if I can say that, and really begin to think about going back to church and those kind of things. So we won't elaborate on that because you got into great details on that, but the previous podcast, episode 345, will tell you about that. So Michael, let's see, where are we going to go here? We brought up 10 points last week, and I don't know if I want to go over those 10 points again.
No, there might be a highlight or two there that you may want to hit. The important thing being probably the greatest failure that most ministries have is they mention something in all of their published content one time and think that's sufficient. It's not. Exactly. It is not. You need to do it. You need to do it until you feel like your ears are going to bleed if you say it again. And then people will still say, I never heard that. But that's the volume that you have to be repetitive with if you want people to take action on something that's important to you.
So that's very important. Multiple times. You've got to put it out there multiple times. And that includes from the platform, from the podium, those kind of things. So where did we leave off, Michael? We went through 12 points. Where do we go next year? We
have some ideas. Today is idea day.
Oh, good. Well, I like ideas.
And I think our ideas may not be perfect for everyone, but the whole thing is to spur you towards something that works for your ministry.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, exactly. All right. Yeah. Okay. So today is idea day. So let's just jump into it. I'm going to toss it over to you. Invite, plan ideas. So, so go ahead.
So typically the way it works in most successfully, and this is proven by greater communicators and planners than me, is that the senior pastor announces the rollout of this greatest new exciting fall event that you're going to invite your friends to, and it comes directly from him as part of the talk, not the announcer, not the worship guy, not whoever else, directly from the pastor. If he's not invested, this is not going to happen well.
And people need to know that. They need to sense that the senior leader needs to really be invested, as you say, in this, and really needs to get behind it, because that's where people take their leads. They don't call him lead pastor for nothing.
That's right.
They take their leads from that stuff. So so begin with with on the platform, on the stage, on the podium, whatever you want to call it. The pastor launches this campaign, verbally talks about it, and then what happens after he talks. And by the way, again, he should probably be mentioning it several times.
Oh yes. Yeah. It's
Over
not
the
a
next-
one-time
yeah.
thing. It's going to
Yeah.
say, hey, this is the time when your friends and family are most open
Yeah.
to getting their life back together and coming to church, or coming to church to get their life back together.
Yeah.
So we're speaking to that, the pastor speaking to that. And then in that initial he says, hey, this next week, I'm going to send you an email. I want you to be looking for it, because within it is going to be all the instructions on how this is going to work.
Yeah.
So instead of having, a 20-minute delivery from the pastor explaining all the details, he can just say, look for my email this week. I'm going to explain, me and the team are going to explain how this works. And we're going to give you as many details as we can and dialogue with you so that you can be successful at your invite for this launch, this big event, this new thing that we're doing.
Yeah. So with the email, should he maybe have a video? At least
ideally, I think, Phil, you could probably attest to this. I think we can attest to this. Anything that you put out, you should have a bullet list of instructions and a video that says what's in the bullets. Because some people are watchers and some people are readers, and some people are both. And so you provide what people are consuming or will consume, and you do it in a format that delivers redundancy. So that way, whoever you are, they're going to get the instructions, hopefully, maybe.
Yeah. And I think that's so good what you mentioned, because especially, I think more than ever now, people are bombarded with information. And so they just want to do a quick scan. And bullet points help that. And then, if something catches their eye, then they can go a little deeper with it.
Right.
But if you just load up your email with a bunch of text, or whatever it is, your newsletter, email, even your Facebook post, whatever you're posting on, if all it is just a bunch of text, well, good news, or bad news, I should say, people are going to be just blown off and they're not going to they won't even bother looking at it. So definitely bullet points, definitely some things that stand out so you catch people's attention. You don't hear that thing ringing, do you? Do you hear my phone ringing?
I heard something making a noise. I thought it was an angel getting its wings. So
maybe it was.
I wasn't sure. I was.
That's from that happens around Christmas time. Okay, yeah. My phones were going off, and they're going off in my ear too. So, but okay, we're good. All right, so follow up the pastor's announcements with a nice email that people actually will want to look at.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And maybe consider also duplicating that on a web page so that you can refer to it in social media, and so that there's a place that you can go to our big event, our big invite, our big fall launch. You can go to that page and here's instructions. You don't necessarily add it to the navigation on your website. It's just a page that's built that you use a link in your social media, in your newsletter, and everything everywhere, so that people can know our big thing, our big event. Here's the instructions and information and links that you'll need to be successful at inviting your friends and family and loved ones.
Yeah. And here's something that I really liked when I came back from my wilderness experience in Kansas and got back on staff with you guys years ago. You guys were talking about, you would call something, you actually would call it the big event. I think that's what you called it when you had correct. Something. And I remember thinking about that. I thought, it's actually a pretty good idea, because when you title something, whatever it is you're doing, we're talking about relaunching your streaming, making this big push to relaunch your streaming today, but anything you're doing, if it's, something happening, some event, there should be a title to it. And that should be kind of the thing that goes out. So like people go, the big event, what's the big event? Whatever you call it, it stands out. It's not like,
we'll reference that. Yeah. We'll reference that in a little bit. Probably spend a lot of time talking about a big event and how to do one well. And, but yeah, whatever the name of it is, make it a name that's catchy, that people are going to go, Oh yeah, yeah. I'm excited about that, and I'm excited enough about it that I'm going to invite my friends and family.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess I should have read the notes. Okay.
Nah,
So,
no, you're great. It's great, man.
all right.
Uh,
Moving on here, Ned.
well, let's talk
Let's,
about videos
yeah.
because videos are very powerful if done well.
Mhm.
And I don't mean giant amount of production. I mean just good ideas that are serious or funny or entertaining. I think some of the ones that have impacted me the most have been funny, but they're poignant. So I know Granger Church and Life Church and many other churches have done a great job of creating engaging and funny 1 minute videos that say, here's why, here's the top 10 reasons you need to invite people to church. Or in this case, here's the top 10 reasons you need to invite somebody to church online. Number one, you don't have to wear pants. Number two, you can stream from anywhere. Oh, whatever that is. But don't be afraid of making a little bit of fun. What we're doing in church should be fun. We should make it fun. This should not be. And anyway,
Yeah.
that's another podcast. But
yeah, no, I get that. I used to do a morning show, on Christian radio. I did morning. We did all sorts of top 10 lists, and I probably stepped it over the line a few times. But you do. But I think humor is a very important part of life, and it's certainly, humor can also bring truth in a situation. In fact, I will argue that Jesus had a sense of humor.
And, I would too. Yeah, absolutely.
We won't go down that road.
Very few rabbis do not have a really great and usually dry sense of humor. They will make you laugh, and then they'll zing you with the truth, and you go, oh,
yep.
Yeah.
Steve Shermitt comes to mind. All right. So, all right. So video. Yeah. So an engaging video.
And I think another part of that idea, I wrote the one idea down that we'll have in the blog eventually. Interview a bunch of people who attend online, and you can do that live or via video, and say, hey, Phil, tell me where you join Church Online and why you come to Church Online, and do that in 15, 20-second increments. Clip them all together, and then it's not you saying how great your church online is. It's actual attenders' testimony saying, I go to church because I work, and this is the only way I get to be have the experience with fellow believers and hear the truth.
Yeah, that's very good advice. And again, my experience in broadcasting, testimonials, whether it be commercials or whatever you're doing, are really important, and Christianity understands that, because we talk a lot about understanding how to share your testimony with somebody about how you came to Christ. So very important stuff. All right. So moving on here, we've got video ideas. Do a giveaway of something cool for everyone. How do you do that online? So we can use what we're doing for anything that you're doing in your church, but we're talking specifically about relaunching your streaming today. How do you give something away online? What's some ideas?
One of the easiest ways to do that is gift cards. So really poignant right now would be gas cards. You may not be able to give a bunch, but you could give some. But what we did coffee cards. We had a local but national chain, and we would send them out a coffee card. But during the big event, we also gave something big away. So most recently, I saw that they were giving away a giant cooler, and they said if you register online, they'll ship it to you. So nice. Something that's shippable, something that is small, tangible. But you give them, coffee card was just for new guests. Every new guest that showed up, that we got your information, We send them a coffee card and said, man, I'm so glad you attended. I hope you had a great experience. Here's a link to something that's coming up soon. But the big stuff, when we know that we're going to have a ton of guests coming in for fall or big event, we give something big away, because a few $100 is no big deal in the context of getting in front of, 20 new people who may begin to call your church their home.
Yeah.
And you say, everybody who invites somebody and everybody who's new who shows up, fill out your connection card online or in the building, and we're going to put you in there for the drawing, and whoever wins it, and we'll ship it to you. A lot of great information gathering in that. Our connection card, we ask for just simple stuff: name, contact info, so we can reach out to you. Prayer requests: how can we pray for you this week?
Right. Important.
And now we've begun the conversation and engaging and connecting with you at a deeper level.
Yeah. I remember one of the big events when I was on staff with you. I think we gave away a toolbox. And when I say toolbox, it's the one on wheels, not just a little toolbox.
Yeah, big one. Yeah.
And one of the guys won it, and he goes, I really don't have a need for this. And he looked at me, he goes, do you want this? I said, well, I've got one, but I could take it off your hands, give it to my son. So he gave
there you
it to
go.
me.
Win-win.
So I won.
Wins.
Yeah, everybody won. So I ended up giving the grade, and now he has it at his house. Unfortunately, he took a lot of my tools with him when he moved out. So it's kind of frustrating. It's like, where's my tool? Oh, Graydon has that. It's somewhere else. All right. Yeah. Okay, good. Moving on.
So now we're probably at a big event. What is a big event?
Yeah, what is a big event? Which I kind of jumped the gun a little bit. So what's a big event?
All right. Not a big deal. We didn't really spell it out. A big event. It doesn't mean anything. We decided that at least twice a year at back to school and Easter, when we know people have in their mind, I take that back. We did Easter a few years, but we pulled back from that because we found out that late January, early February was another time when people were thinking about getting their life and their family back in church. Right. So we do big event, which is we're providing food. We do jumping castles and games and before service, after service, to engage people and make it visually. If your building is conducive to this, put it to where people from the road and the street can see what's going on. Make a giant banners, put it out weeks in advance, giant, and we always concentrated on the kids and family and making it fun and whatever it would take to make it super fun and exciting for kids, because kids will always lead the way in inviting people to church. Us older folks seem to get kind of stuck, but all it takes is a couple kids inviting grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, their friends at school, and everything else to make an event great.
Yeah.
So the big event, and this is here's how it worked for our organization. We had one person in charge of the big event. We actually eventually staffed a person for those big events. They did other things, but when it came to big event time, they led the big event, and everyone, including the senior pastor, took their marching orders from that person, because you want this thing to be very focused so that everybody on the team, volunteer to staff to senior pastor, we're all going in one direction, and that's to make this thing an amazing and huge big event that people are excited about inviting their friends and family and loved ones to.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody needs to be on the same page, and there needs to be a lead person on this, the key person. So that
shouldn't be the senior pastor unless you have to. He needs to be in the loop on everything, but this needs to be a person that can work out the details.
Right.
They're calling for the jumping castles and coordinating food and or catering, however you're going to do that. And
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be these things. It could be what fits your community better. But what is it that would excite people about inviting other people to come? It's got to be that. So whatever that is, create it in such a way that there's a buzz all around your community and people want to know about it. And then you provide layer after layer after layer after layer of communication and tools to get people to really be involved. The invite card is probably one of the most important pieces, and it should have a link and a QR code on it for your church online if you're relaunching church online. And you pass it out to everyone, especially in the kids department, and you offer prizes for the kids too. Whoever's kids card gets drawn, they win a bike or whatever that is. Really build some excitement and heavy promotion level. It's the biggest event you've ever done, kind of thing. And once you do it, you kind of go, okay, let's take notes. What worked, what didn't work, how can we do this better? And eventually you get to a place where you can really get a lot of new guests walking in the door and have a great experience.
Absolutely. And I just want to emphasize, you need to see this as an investment. So, you are going to spend some money on whatever it is and again, as Michael said at the very beginning here, we're just throwing out ideas,
Sure.
Maybe you'll come up with something different or better, but but see it as an investment. And that investment is obviously in people, and it will yield a crop. It will yield, some growth in your church. And and these things bring people together too. I mean, if you've got somebody that's fairly decent in organizational skills, heads this thing up, not only is it an investment in people, new people, as well as maybe people that haven't been around for a while, but it also brings people together. When you're working on a project together, it can really bring people to it deepens relationships. It helps really strengthen your church because you're working together, you're all going in one direction. And it just, to me, it's something that really is an investment that yields a lot in return. Maybe not a ton of return right away, but it will build on that. All right. So, Michael, we're out of time here.
Oh, no. We just got started.
I know. All right.
All right.
So, folks, we have a blog, blog.streamingchurch.tv. Look it up, blog.streamingchurch.tv. This is not on the blog, what we talked about, but it will be here probably in a couple of weeks. There's other stuff that we've talked about on the blog. If you haven't subscribed to the Church Solutions podcast, you can get this anywhere you get your podcast. And we'd recommend that you subscribe to it. You'll never miss a podcast. And if you want to give us a rating, that would be good too. So, please jump in there and do some of that if you can, because that helps us. And hopefully it'll help your church, because we, as I said at the very beginning of the podcast, we have guests on here. We have lots of things going on that hopefully will help your church, not only in tech, but in other things. Michael, thank you very much for your time today.
Always my pleasure.
And thank you, folks, for, again, listening or watching, whatever means you may be on here. This Church Solutions podcast. We're glad that you're here. And I'm Phil Thompson for Michael Gray and Steve Lacy, who's not here today. Please take care of yourselves and each other. And we'll catch you next time on another episode of the Church Solutions podcast.